What's happening, my madness society? It is your host with the most, Shadow Loke. Back at you with another video. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. It's free. It don't cost anything. You'll be helping my channel a lot get into the algorithm. You get what I'm saying? You know, I bring content on a day-to-day, talking about different types of subjects on this channel. I do have another channel, but you know, that covers more of the street life. This is more on the, you know, conspiracy, supernatural, psychological, you know, and anything else people want to talk about. You know what I mean? Outside the streets. That's what I have my street channel for. This is just strictly covering everything outside of the streets. You know, other topics like, you know, religion, you know, politics, all that good stuff. You know, comedy, you know, anything. But what I wanted to talk about was actually still, you know, my video that I did yesterday covering the devastating and, you know, horrendous news, you know, out of Texas with the shooter. You know, scandalous stuff, you know what I mean? But I got asked what goes on in the mental behind these individuals that commit these kind of crimes. I do study psychology. I'm not an expert in it, you know what I mean? But I know enough to get around, you know what I mean? I actually do have a good grade in the class and everything. Anywho, that's the beautiful thing about, you know, everything that has to do with science. You know, you get to give your theories, you know, assessments and all of that, you know, and everybody gives just their ideas, you know, to come to, you know, to solutions. You know what I mean? Nobody truly holds the one answer. You get what I'm saying? That's the beautiful thing about it. Anywho, people have to understand how the mental works. The brain is a very, very, very powerful thing. Despite individuals don't want to believe the science, but individuals really feel like they could control their mental. It's a very difficult task, controlling our emotions and our mental. You know what I mean? People have to understand the brain. You know what I mean? Especially when you sleep, you know how it creates all these dreams and stuff like that. The brain can make you hallucinate, hear things that, you know, no one said, see things that aren't really there. You know, the brain is very, very powerful. Very, very powerful. People underestimate what the brain could do. And the brain is just like anything else in your body. You lift too much weights on one arm or on your legs. What happens? You damage your muscles. No, you damage the ligaments in your muscles, right? You know, when you put too much strain on a muscle, you damage it, right? You damage the ligaments. You know, you see it happen with basketball players, NFL players. Too much stress on the part of the body, you're gonna damage it. The brain is no different. Don't think just because the brain is there or you didn't get hit in your head that you can't damage your brain. No, you can damage your brain by putting too much stress on it. You're stressing too much and everything like that. So you're applying too much pressure on the brain, and those cells start to deteriorate. You know what I mean? You see it in CAT scans where you know, certain cells, you know, are already like dying out. You know, parts of the brain control different parts. You know what I mean? Of everything. One being your you know, your thoughts, you know, sense of, you know, how could I say, you know, being rational and etc. Stuff like that. You know what I mean? When people put too much, you could get stuck in a state of psychosis. You see it happening where people stress so much that they go cuckoo. That they're not pretending that they're cuckoo, my boy. You get what I'm saying? They legitimately go off the rockers. You get what I'm saying? Because, you know, they got stuck, you know, unfortunately, you know what I'm saying? It's something that's sad and very difficult. It's something that a lot of people don't understand. So a lot of people like to talk and criticize without really knowing, you know, what's really going on. You get what I'm saying? Like I said, there's an explanation to why everything happens on every side of the story. So when these individuals are committing these crimes, you know, like the mass shooter, don't think that they're having rational thoughts like you and me. They're already beyond that, you know what I mean? In that moment that they're stuck doing, you know, whatever shit that they're doing, whether they were on drugs or whether they were just stuck in the state of psychosis, they're not thinking like me and you, like, oh, that's somebody's kid, or that's you know what I mean? In their head, what's really going on is all the pain that they ever felt, all the bad things that they ever were told and heard, all the pain and And let's say if they were verbally abused or physically abused or anything like that, everything that they're thinking in that moment is just those memories, those thoughts, you know what I mean? So when they're hearing these people like scream and saying stop or no, they think that they're agreeing with whoever was applying this abuse to them, you know what I mean? So they see it like, oh, so you think they're right and I'm the one that's wrong? Well, we'll see. And you already know what happens when rage takes over, you know? People have been stuck in those situations, you know, when somebody offends you, you just want to get down with them. You forget that you're with your family or whatever. You know how people block shit out, you know, that's around them? Like, hey, bro, you have your kids with you. And you know how shit just cracks and people completely forget about stuff? Because they're just caught in the heat of moment, or you're really mad and people are holding you back and telling you to relax, but you're just focused on that person and that person only, and all the rage that's going through your head. Same with these individuals. They're stuck in that rage. You get what I'm saying? So they're not thinking like a rational person is. You know what I mean? Their train of thought. Well, you met somebody that, I don't know if you guys have seen somebody that's kind of like on drugs or kind of like a little cuckoo, whatever. You try talking sense into them and they're not listening to you. They're not hearing you. You know what I mean? And you're just like, fuck, dude. Or when somebody's drunk, for example, and they're just not hearing you. You know what I mean? Same with the state of psychosis. The same rules apply there. You know what I mean? So it's not like, oh, these guys want to do this or whatever. You know what I'm saying? When somebody, you could tell when somebody's in a state of psychosis. That's why when you see people go to court, they have a psychologist, a therapist, or whatever, evaluate the suspect to see if he really was stuck in a state of psychosis. That's the reason for that, because there's a difference from somebody who's actually calm and collect and is actually doing this stuff, knows what he's doing, you know, like a sociopath, a psychopath. Even though those are, how can I say, even though those are personality disorders, the person still had conscience of what he was doing, so he knew what he was doing. You know what I mean? Compared to somebody that's stuck in the state of psychosis, is completely off their rockers in that moment. You know, and some don't even come back from that. And it's sad. It's a lot to put on a kid's plate. You know what I mean? A lot of people see these gang members, these serial killers, these, you know, and people like that, and this is not to justify, but I'm saying to get to understand what led up to these behaviors. A lot of people look at these individuals and they're like, nah, these fools know what the fuck they're doing, man. These fools knew what they were doing. But remember, you're looking at it from the sense of the adult. But when these individuals became the way they became, they were children, right? They were a child. So when you're stuck in that, when you're going through a lot, like let's say abuse and stuff like that, your brain doesn't evolve like a normal human being's brain. You know what I mean? Because you've been traumatized. So you're stuck in a state of trauma, and you could overcome that. You know what I mean? With help. You know, psychological help and stuff like that. You know what I mean? To get to the root and the source of the problems. So for somebody to just willingly want to do it on their own, it is very difficult, very difficult. And like I have always said, not everybody's mental is the same, and not everybody has the same willpower as everybody else. You know what I mean? So although why you think just because you muscled through it that this person's able to muscle through it, you guys are not the same. You guys don't have the same, you know, mental. Everyone's different. You see, people are born athletic. Some people could learn better than others. We're not all the same. That's the one misconception people always get, that they think that just because you can do it, they can do it. We're not all the same, bro. We all have our gifts and we all have our weaknesses as humans. That's real talk. You know, some need to work a little bit harder and do a little extra. You get what I'm saying? It's just the way it is. Genetics, bro. What you want? And those are the facts. Argue with the science. Anywho, so these individuals, right, go through this, you know, traumatic phase. So it takes them a lot more longer to learn. To them it feels like, you know, they have always been the odds have always been stuck against them. It's never been in their favor. They felt like they've been mistreated their whole entire lives for absolutely no reason, because absolutely no reason it came to them. You know, there's some people, look, just because you had a good childhood, or just because you have good parents, or your parents are cuckoo, doesn't mean that everybody's parents are the same. Some people go through some stuff that you guys wouldn't even be able to fathom. You know what I mean? You can't even be able to begin to imagine what some parents do to some kids, or how they treat some kids. You guys have seen that case of that little boy who was tortured and all that in Palmdale and stuff like that. You'll be surprised how much that happens in the world, my boy. It happens so much that is ridiculous. You'll be surprised how much verbal. Look into it. If you doubt what I'm saying, just research how many kids go through child abuse and physical abuse and all of that in the world. My boy, it will crush your heart, bro, of how much this happens. It will make you look society in a whole different way, you know what I mean? Of how some people could really treat their kids like this. I know it's hard to imagine because you will never think like that. You will never do your kids like that. Or your parents are lovely. So you find it hard to believe how anybody could be like that, but this is the real world. This is not movies, it's not comedy. You can't make this shit up, bro. There's some people out there that are just... they're scandalous, homie. You know what I mean? And a lot of us homeboys have been through some shit, dog. Maybe you've been through some shit too, dog, but you don't know what some individuals have been through, homie. You know what I'm saying? You know, I would wish that upon nobody. It's some cold shit, homie. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is, you know. Ni modos, you know. It is, like I said, it's not to justify these individuals, but it's just to understand what led up to that. How to prevent it, you know what I mean? Be a good parent, you know. I preach it all the damn time on both of my channels because, man, you'll be surprised how much that goes a long way. Just telling your kid, I love you, you know, just something as easy as that, how far it goes. And you'll be surprised how many people don't tell their kids that. You'll be surprised, bro. You'll be like, what the hell? People think that everybody like really be like that with their kids. They don't, my boy. They don't, homie. You'll be surprised how many people don't tell their kids that, homie. I ain't making that up. It's facts. Like I said, like honestly, in my opinion, I think some people do need to actually. I think society does actually need to take some parenting classes before they do become a parent. You know what I mean? No lie, because fuck, dude, you know, like a lot of the world's problem is because a lot of these people don't raise their kids right, homie. That's the real 100. It's not that the kid is born bad or the kid wants to be bad and shit like that. You know what I mean? A kid is programmed. Remember, when you're growing up, you're learning. These people are teaching you, you know, so you're learning and gathering. It's not like you were just born to be like, you know, unless you're a psychopath or a sociopath, you know, where you suffer those, you know, those brains. Then that's different, you know what I mean? Because you're born with that part of the brain that's, you know, irregular. But it's rare that happens, you know what I mean? The percentage wise. But I'm saying that a lot of these kids are programmed to be this way. As hard as it is for you to believe that some parents will actually, you know, do that and shit like that, like I said, you give too much credit to society. Sad, but true. So these people are thinking completely irrational in that moment, you know what I mean? They're not thinking about it. They're just thinking about the rage and all the pain that they have ever felt. They're stuck in that moment, you know what I mean? In their heads, they're hearing those voices, you know, repeating, you know, you're fucking no good, you're a piece of shit, I wish you were never born, you're pathetic, you know, that's all that's going through their mental. You know, they're not thinking about, you know, oh, this is, you know what I mean? They're not doing all that, my boy. As crazy as that sounds, or as like, nah, these motherfuckers just wanted to. Bro, you'll be surprised, homie. These motherfuckers be hearing voices and everything like that, homie. That's a science. Those are the facts, bro. You know what I mean? There's research and there's tons of evidence showing that to be so. You know what I mean? It's crazy, you know. When you put a lot of stress in the brain, you'll be surprised, man, like what kind of shit it could do to a person. You know, physical and verbal abuse could really traumatize a kid, you know what I mean? Could really make the kid feel insignificant, and man, bro, that's the last thing you want to do. You know what I'm saying? But you know, that's the overall, you know, getting into the idea, like maybe, you know, what goes through their heads and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Because like you said, you put a lot of stress in your brain, and you start damaging that part. I mean, it could have some, you know, it could have some big side effects. I'm just saying, I'm Shadow, we out.